From the Isle of Man to the top of the charts, the Barry Gibb Chronicles takes you on a journey through the life of one of music's most iconic figures. As a founding member of the legendary Bee Gees, Barry Gibb's influence spans across genres, from disco anthems to heartfelt ballads. This video delves into his rise to fame, his unmatched songwriting talent, and the profound impact he's had on pop, country, and beyond. Join us as we explore Barry's incredible legacy, his personal triumphs, and the unforgettable songs that continue to shape the music world today. Barry Allen Crompton Gibb, born September 1st, 1946, is a legendary British musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer, best known for his role as a member of the iconic group the Bee Gees. Alongside his twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, Gibb helped define the sound of an era, propelling the Bee Gees to global fame. Their success is unparalleled in the history of popular music, and their signature harmonies and powerful falsetto vocals left an indelible mark on the industry. Barry Gibb is renowned for his unique vocal range, including an unmistakable high-pitched falsetto, which became a trademark of the Bee Gees' sound. His songwriting prowess is equally remarkable, as he shares the record with John Lennon and Paul McCartney for the most consecutive Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits, each achieving 6. In total, Gibb is credited with writing or co-writing 16 #1 songs, solidifying his legacy as one of the greatest songwriters of all time. In recognition of his contribution to music, Gibb was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1994 with his brothers. 3 years later, the Bee Gees were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. His influence extends beyond his own work, with Q magazine ranking him among the 100 greatest singers in 2007. Guinness World Records also acknowledges him as the second most successful songwriter in history, only behind Paul McCartney. Gibb's efforts in music and charity were further recognized when he was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE, in 2002, and later knighted in the 2018 New Year Honors. Additionally, in 2022, he was honored as an honorary Companion of the Order of Australia for his significant contributions to music. Early years. Barry Gibb was born in Douglas, Isle of Man, on September 1st, 1946, to Hugh Gibb, a drummer, and Barbara Gibb, née Pass, both originally from Manchester. His ancestry includes English, Irish, and Scottish roots, with his grandfather Hugh Gibb Sr. hailing from Lanarkshire, Scotland. Barry's early life was marked by a tragic incident when, at nearly 2 years old, he suffered severe burns from a hot teapot, an accident that required him to stay in the hospital for several months. Despite this traumatic event, Barry later commented that he had no memory of the accident, though the scars remained as a reminder of the ordeal. The Gibb family relocated several times during Barry's childhood, eventually settling in Manchester before moving to Australia in 1958. This period in Barry's life saw the beginning of his musical career, which would soon evolve into something extraordinary: musical beginnings. In 1955, Barry and his brothers formed a skiffle group called the Rattlesnakes, where Barry took on the role of lead vocalist and guitarist, with Robin and Maurice joining as vocalists and playing acoustic guitar. The group was influenced by popular artists such as Cliff Richard, Paul Anka, Buddy Holly, and the Everly Brothers. Their first professional performance was at the Gaumont Cinema in 1957. As the family moved frequently, their musical aspirations grew. By 1958, the Gibb brothers changed the name of their group to Wee Johnny Hayes and the Blue Cats, performing regularly in talent contests. However, it was the family's decision to emigrate to Australia in 1958 that marked the beginning of their international music journey. While in Australia, they formed the Bee Gees and began performing at local venues, gaining recognition for their harmonies and original songs. By 1963, after years of performing at various venues, they were signed by the Australian Festival Records, and their first single, The Battle of the Blue and the Gray, was released. This was followed by a series of original compositions by Barry, who had begun to establish himself as a talented songwriter. His songs were recorded by many Australian artists, and his work in the 1960s earned him recognition as a rising talent in the Australian music scene. International success. The Bee Gees' breakthrough came in 1967, when they returned to the United Kingdom. Shortly after their arrival, the Bee Gees passed a live audition with Robert Stigwood, who would become their manager. Their first international album, Bee Gees First, featured the hit single "To Love Somebody," a song written and sung by Barry that would become a timeless classic. Over the years, the Bee Gees' music evolved, encompassing a range of genres, including pop, rock, and disco. As they gained international recognition, Barry's songwriting flourished, with several chart-topping hits that cemented the Bee Gees' place in music history. The group's 1977 album, Saturday Night Fever, and the accompanying single, Stayin' Alive, became defining anthems of the disco era, propelling the Bee Gees to unprecedented success. Throughout the decades, Barry Gibb's work as both a performer and a songwriter has left an enduring legacy in the world of popular music. From his early days in Australia to his rise to international stardom, his journey reflects not only his immense talent, but also his resilience and passion for music. Today, Barry Gibb stands as one of the most influential figures in the history of popular music, with a legacy that continues to inspire generations of artists. Barry Gibb, A Solo Journey in the Bee Gees' Resurgence, 1970 to 1983. Barry Gibb, the heart and soul of the Bee Gees, had a complex and multifaceted career that spanned multiple decades, marked by periods of dramatic transformation. From the early days of solo experimentation to the global success of the Bee Gees during the disco era and his foray into production, Gibb's career trajectory stands as one of the most dynamic in the history of popular music. His journey from personal loss, as the Bee Gees briefly parted ways, to a newfound global fame, displays his ability to navigate challenges, evolving trends, and the demands of fame with resilience and creativity. Early solo career, 1970 to 1971. Barry Gibb's first foray into a solo career began in the early 1970s, a period that saw the Bee Gees experience internal struggles, leading to a temporary hiatus. The seeds of his solo endeavors were sown in 1970 when Gibb began working on an album titled The Kid's No Good. Despite the album never being officially released, several tracks from the record became cult favorites among dedicated fans, circulating as bootlegs over the years. The lead single, I'll Kiss Your Memory, was emblematic of Gibb's early solo style, a blend of country and sentimental ballads. Despite its lack of commercial success in the United Kingdom and the United States, the single found some recognition, reaching number 16 in the Netherlands. Another song, this time, was chosen as the B-side of the single, further demonstrating Gibb's distinctive approach to songwriting. Critics like AllMusic's Bruce Eder noted that the songs from The Kid's No Good reflected a melancholic and introspective side of Gibb, drawing from influences outside the Bee Gees' typical pop-soul sound. This early solo attempt marked an important moment in Gibb's creative evolution, as he explored genres outside the realm of his brother's pop influence, dabbling in country-inspired ballads and softer, more reflective material. However, this period of solo exploration was short-lived. In April 1970, after the Bee Gees split, Gibb found himself focusing on other projects. A significant part of this solo venture included his involvement in the 1970 album Cucumber Castle, which featured Barry and his brother Maurice Gibb. Robin's decision to embark on a solo career left Barry and Maurice to continue working together as a duo. This was a brief period in Bee Gees' history that foreshadowed the ongoing shifts within the group dynamics. The Cucumber Castle project, which had a somewhat mixed reception, would be a defining moment in Barry Gibb's early solo career. Throughout 1970, Gibb began to make solo public appearances, including his role as a judge at the Miss Teen Princess of the World pageant in Germany. It was here that he performed tracks like One Bad Thing and The Day Your Eyes Meet Mine. During the performance, Gibb openly expressed his longing to be on stage again after more than a year without performing, a sentiment that reflected his attachment to the live performing world that would come to define his later career. His return to Australia in July 1970 to promote his solo work was accompanied by an interview where he declared the Bee Gees no longer a working entity, despite the continuing bond between him and his brothers. Interestingly, Gibb had considered releasing One Bad Thing as a follow-up to his single, but the timing didn't align with the Bee Gees' reunion. By August 1970, the trio reunited and began recording new music together, making Barry's solo plans a secondary consideration. The Bee Gees' reunion and return to success, 1970 to 1974. The Bee Gees' reunion in August 1970 heralded the group's return to the international music scene, with Lonely Days and How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, both of which became massive hits. The Bee Gees reclaimed their place in the pop charts. In particular, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart became the Bee Gees' first American #1 hit, which marked the beginning of a period of renewed success for the group. The reunion did not just restore Barry Gibb's relationship with his brothers, but it also revitalized their creative process. By 1971, Barry had committed entirely to the Bee Gees, officially abandoning his solo career pursuits. Instead, he focused his energy on helping craft the group's album To Whom It May Concern, 1972, a record that, although a commercial success, marked the end of their partnership with arranger Bill Shepherd, a longtime collaborator who had helped shape the Bee Gees' earlier works. The move to a more modern sound and their evolving style was marked by their decision to leave their former label, Polydor Records, and sign with Robert Stigwood's RSO Records in 1973. It was here that Gibb and his brothers fully embraced a new creative direction, laying the foundation for their future success in the 1970s. The disco era and global stardom, 1975 to 1980. The Bee Gees' music underwent a radical transformation in the mid-1970s, signaling the beginning of the disco era. The Bee Gees, particularly Barry Gibb, became the architects of the disco revolution. The collaboration with producer Arif Mardin in 1975 helped the group experiment with falsetto vocals, which became a trademark of their sound during this era. The track, Nights on Broadway, from their 1975 album Main Course, showcased Barry's falsetto, signaling a new musical direction for the group. By 1977, the Bee Gees were firmly entrenched in the disco scene, with their album Saturday Night Fever becoming a global cultural phenomenon. The soundtrack to the film Saturday Night Fever, with its unforgettable hits like Stayin' Alive and How Deep Is Your Love, went on to become the best-selling soundtrack of all time. Barry Gibb's songwriting and production skills played an instrumental role in this success, as he co-wrote Emotion for Samantha Sang, which became another chart-topping hit. The Bee Gees' success reached a fever pitch in the late 1970s. Along with the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, the Bee Gees contributed music to other high-profile projects, such as the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band movie soundtrack in 1978 and Grease in the same year. These high-profile projects elevated their profile even further, cementing their place as the kings of disco. During this period, Barry Gibb also found time to collaborate with other artists. For instance, he co-wrote and recorded the hit Ain't Nothing Gonna Keep Me From You for Terry DeSario, and was instrumental in the creation of Islands in the Stream, the iconic duet between Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. Continued success and shift to production, 1980 to 1983. As the 1980s arrived, the musical landscape was shifting. The Bee Gees' signature disco sound began to fall out of favor, and the group faced challenges in maintaining their commercial success. Despite the critical and commercial hurdles, Barry Gibb remained an influential figure in the music industry. His role as a producer and songwriter became increasingly prominent in the early 1980s. Gibb's production work on Barbra Streisand's 1980 album Guilty stands out as one of the most significant highlights of this era. The album's title track, along with Woman in Love, became massive hits, demonstrating Gibb's continued ability to create chart-topping material outside of the Bee Gees' core group. His work with Dionne Warwick on Heartbreaker, producing the title Track, also proved to be a commercial success, further solidifying Gibb's reputation as one of the most gifted songwriters and producers of his generation. Despite the Bee Gees' difficulties in recapturing their previous success with the 1981 album Living Eyes, Barry's work as a producer continued to flourish. He also recorded the hit Eyes That See in the Dark for Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton in 1983, demonstrating his ongoing influence in shaping the sound of mainstream pop and country music. The Bee Gees themselves, while no longer dominating the charts in the same way they had during the disco era, remained a force to be reckoned with. In conclusion, the period between 1970 and 1983 marked a critical time in Barry Gibb's career, encompassing a mix of solo exploration, the Bee Gees' remarkable reunion, and their massive success during the disco era. His transition from performer to producer also added a new dimension to his legacy, influencing not just the Bee Gees, but a host of other successful artists. Barry Gibb's resilience and adaptability in the face of shifting musical trends cemented his position as one of the most enduring figures in the music industry. Break from the Bee Gees and solo work. 1983 to 1986. After decades of collaboration with his brothers in the Bee Gees, Barry Gibb took a step back to focus on solo projects, marking a significant shift in his career in the mid-1880s. By the early 1980s, the Bee Gees' peak success had already been reached, and the disco era's dominance began to fade. The group had enjoyed enormous commercial success, particularly with their 1977 album Saturday Night Fever, but the changing musical landscape left them in search of new directions. In 1983, Barry signed a lucrative deal with MCA Records and set out to carve a new path with his solo work. Gibb's solo debut, Now Voyager, was released in 1984 and showcased his shift toward a more contemporary sound. The album received mixed reviews, but it had a handful of standout tracks, most notably the top 40 hit Shine, Shine. The song's catchy, upbeat melody and Gibb's signature falsetto appealed to fans of his previous work, though it didn't replicate the massive success of the Bee Gees' disco hits. Now Voyager was an exploration of Barry's musical evolution, marking a departure from the group's signature style into more pop and rock territory. The album's second single, Fine Line, was less commercially successful but noteworthy for its music video. In this video, Gibb presented a dramatically different persona, ditching his usual beard for a more polished, clean-shaven look that symbolized a fresh start. However, despite the visual and stylistic changes, the track failed to resonate with the mainstream audience, and the album as a whole didn't achieve the same level of commercial success as his previous group projects. Gibb's decision to venture into the world of solo music represented not just a break from his brothers, but also an attempt to evolve beyond the confines of the Bee Gees' image. In 1985, Gibb lent his songwriting and production expertise to Diana Ross's Eaten Alive album, co-writing the title track and other songs. Although the album didn't reach the same commercial heights as Ross's earlier works, it allowed Gibb to further cement his reputation as a versatile songwriter and producer. Around the same time, Gibb also contributed to his brother Robin Gibb's Walls Have Eyes album, offering his input on several tracks. Despite his solo ventures, Barry's heart still seemed tied to his role as a member of the Bee Gees. His songwriting and producing for other artists were clearly important, but there was an ongoing tension between his solo ambitions and his legacy with the Bee Gees. Continued work with the Bee Gees and new ventures. 1987 to 2002. Despite Gibb's solo efforts, the Bee Gees would continue to be a significant part of his career. In 1987, the group reunited after a long hiatus, recording their first album in 6 years, One. The album was a comeback of sorts, marking their return to the pop charts with the single One. Though the album did not achieve the same level of commercial success as their 1970s releases, it was a significant moment in the Bee Gees' career. The success of the single demonstrated that the Bee Gees could still create music that resonated with fans, even in a new musical landscape. In 1990, the Bee Gees released High Civilization, an album that delved into a more electronic sound, a result of their ongoing collaboration with producer and engineer Hugh Padgham. The album included the hit single Secret Love, and while it didn't match the success of the Bee Gees' disco-era albums, it still garnered attention for its fresh, contemporary sound. By 1993, the Bee Gees had released Size Isn't Everything, an album that reflected their growth as artists. With tracks like For Whom the Bell Tolls and Paying the Price of Love, the album proved that the group could still create music that resonated with their audience. Though not as commercially successful as Saturday Night Fever, Size Isn't. Everything was lauded for its emotional depth and the maturity of its themes, marking a continued evolution for the trio. During this time, Barry's songwriting and production work for other artists continued. He collaborated with several big names, further establishing himself as a versatile and prolific figure in the music world. In particular, Gibb worked with artists like Kelly Wolfe, producing the song Born to Be Loved by You, which further expanded his range as a producer. Additionally, he worked on projects with artists like Lulu and Tina Turner, helping to create music that blended pop, rock, and soul elements. Perhaps one of his most notable collaborations during this period was his work with Michael Jackson. In 2001, Barry Gibb worked with Jackson on tracks for his album Invincible, offering his songwriting and production skills to Jackson's material. This partnership showcased Gibb's ability to adapt to different genres and work with some of the most iconic artists of his time. Later, Gibb would provide background vocals for Michael Bublé's cover of How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, a testament to his lasting influence and relevance in the music world. The passing of Maurice and semi-retirement, 2003 to 2012. The Bee Gees' legacy was forever changed in 2003 with the untimely passing of Maurice Gibb. Maurice's death left a huge void in Barry's life, both personally and professionally. The Bee Gees, once a tight-knit trio, now existed as a duo. Maurice had been a central figure in the group's sound, and his passing marked a significant turning point for Barry. For many, the loss of Maurice symbolized the end of the Bee Gees as they had been known. In the wake of Maurice's death, Barry took some time away from the public eye, opting for more private and solo ventures. While the Bee Gees technically remained active, the music produced during this period lacked the same spirit and energy that characterized their earlier works. In November 2003, Gibb worked on tracks with Cliff Richard, contributing background vocals and guitar to some of Richard's material. However, the dynamic had shifted, and the Bee Gees' brand of music was no longer as commercially viable as it once had been. Barry's solo career, alongside his continued involvement with the Bee Gees, began to evolve into a more reflective phase. He engaged in sporadic performances, collaborations, and private musical projects. But it became evident that the passing of Maurice had left a permanent mark on him. Although Barry still held on to his musical passions, including his desire to work on new projects and create music, the group's days of consistent output were over. Barry's semi-retirement phase in the following years focused more on preserving the Bee Gees' legacy rather than forging ahead with new music. Gibb occasionally performed, participated in interviews, and worked on projects that paid homage to the band's storied history. However, much of his focus shifted toward his family life and maintaining the legacy of the Bee Gees through tribute shows, documentaries, and remastered versions of their albums. In 2012, Barry made a poignant appearance at the Grammy Awards, performing a tribute to his late brothers with the help of artists like Coldplay and Brian Wilson. This marked a definitive moment of closure for Gibb, as he reflected on the immense legacy that the Bee Gees had left behind. Though he continued to make music, Barry's time with the Bee Gees was now largely viewed through the lens of nostalgia. with many fans and critics alike honoring the group's impact on pop, disco, and soul music. Though Barry Gibb remained an influential figure in music throughout the 2000s and beyond, the passing of Maurice left him in a period of introspection and semi-retirement. He had lived through the highs of fame, the challenges of reinvention, and the losses that come with a long musical career. As he entered this quieter chapter of his life, Barry remained one of the most enduring and influential figures in popular music. Musical achievements and collaborations, 2007 to 2010s. In 2007, Gibb continued to showcase his versatility with the release of Drown on the River, which appeared on the soundtrack of the film Deal. This was just one of many ways he contributed to projects beyond the Bee Gees' discography. The same year, he provided background vocals for Jamie Jo's You Turn Me On, and wrote the theme music for the ITV series Grease is the Word. Additionally, Gibb played a significant role as a mentor on the 6th season of American Idol, offering his expertise to budding artists. In 2009, Gibb's efforts in philanthropy were highlighted during the Sound Relief Concert, a 12-hour live event in Sydney aimed at raising funds for the victims of the Victorian bushfires. Alongside Olivia Newton-John, Gibb performed at the star-studded event, which was broadcast across Australia. That same year, Gibb was honored as a Freeman of the Borough of Douglas, Isle of Man, a title also given to his brothers, Robin and Maurice. While 2009 saw plans for a Bee Gees reunion take shape, Gibb withdrew from a planned appearance on the Gorillaz album Plastic Beach in 2010. Despite this, he continued to release music, with two of his songs, Grey Ghost and Daddy's Little Girl, being shared with fans in 2011. Recent work and legacy, 2017-2024. Barry Gibb's career, marked by decades of success, loss, and reinvention, has continued to evolve in recent years, ensuring that his legacy as one of the most influential figures in pop music endures. As of 2017, Gibb entered a new chapter of his musical journey, marked by a mix of reflection on the Bee Gees' history and a renewed focus on expanding his influence beyond traditional pop and disco. His passion for music, along with his innovative spirit, never wavered, and he has spent the last several years pushing boundaries while honoring his past. One of the most notable projects to emerge from Gibb in the past decade was his duets album Greenfields, released in 2020. This project demonstrated Gibb's continued creative vision and marked a significant departure from his past work with the Bee Gees. Greenfields reimagined classic Bee Gees hits in a country music style, collaborating with renowned country artists such as Dolly Parton, Jason Isbell, and Keith Urban. The album was praised for its bold and unexpected transformation of the Bee Gees' iconic pop and disco anthems into the world of country music. Tracks like To Love Somebody and How Can You Mend a Broken Heart took on new life with softer, more acoustic arrangements, while maintaining the emotional depth and poignant lyrics that made the Bee Gees' original versions so beloved. The success of Greenfields reaffirmed Gibb's ability to transcend genres and continue to influence artists across musical landscapes. In an era where nostalgia is often invoked, Gibb's ability to take the Bee Gees' catalog and breathe new life into it through the lens of country music was a testament to his musical longevity and versatility. The album's success in both the country and pop charts cemented Gibb as one of the most adaptable and forward-thinking artists of his generation, continuing to shape the sound of music for decades. In December 2023, Barry Gibb's contributions to American culture were formally recognized when he was honored at the Kennedy Center Honors. This prestigious award is given to individuals who have made extraordinary contributions to the cultural and artistic life of the United States. Gibb's recognition was a fitting tribute to his remarkable career and lasting influence in both the United States and globally. As one of the most prominent figures in pop, soul, and disco, his work, both with the Bee Gees and as a solo artist, has shaped the landscape of popular music for more than half a century. The Kennedy Center Honors Ceremony included performances of some of Gibb's most iconic songs, bringing his legacy full circle. For Gibb, the moment was both a celebration of his achievements and a recognition of the extraordinary impact that the Bee Gees had on music, dance, and culture at large. It was also a moment for fans, both old and new, to pay homage to the songs that defined generations and solidified Barry Gibb as a songwriting legend. As Gibb looked ahead to 2024, he was focused on a new and exciting project: the production of a Bee Gees biopic. Serving as an executive producer for the film, Gibb was committed to ensuring that the story of the Bee Gees was told accurately and thoughtfully. The biopic promises to offer an in-depth look into the lives of the three Gibb brothers, chronicling their rise to fame, their struggles with fame, and their personal tragedies. While much has already been written and said about the Bee Gees, Gibb's involvement in the project ensured that the film would be a heartfelt and intimate portrayal, capturing not only the music, but the bond between the brothers that was central to their success. The biopic would also likely delve into the group's transformation over the decades, from their early pop hits in the 1960s to their disco-era dominance and beyond. Fans of the Bee Gees, many of whom have followed their music through multiple eras, were eager to see their story told on the big screen. Gibb's involvement as a producer also ensured that the film would serve as both a tribute to his late brothers and a way to immortalize their legacy for future generations. With the success of recent biographical films about other musical icons, the Bee Gees biopic was set to be a significant moment in the continuation of their cultural influence. Personal life. Barry Gibb's personal life has, like his career, been a mixture of great love and deep loss. In the 1960s, Gibb married his first wife, Maureen Bates, a union that ended in divorce in 1970. This chapter of his life was brief, but it was a significant early experience that shaped his understanding of relationships and family. Soon after, Gibb met Linda Gray, a former Miss Edinburgh, and the two married on his 24th birthday in 1970. The marriage would become the foundation of Gibb's personal life for decades. Barry and Linda had 5 children together: Stephen, Ashley, Travis, Michael, and Alexandra. The couple maintained a strong family presence throughout their lives, and their bond has been well documented as a source of strength for Gibb throughout his career. Gibb's love for his family and his devotion to them became a central theme of his life, helping him navigate the pressures of fame while remaining grounded in his personal values. In 2009, Gibb became a U.S. citizen, marking another significant milestone in his life. A year earlier, he had been honored with the title of Freeman of the Isle of Man, recognizing his contributions to the arts and his status as a prominent public figure. Despite the public nature of his career, Gibb's personal relationships have remained largely private. However, his friendships with other celebrities have been widely noted, particularly his relationship with Michael Jackson. Gibb and Jackson first collaborated in the early 1980s, working together on some of the Thriller producers' projects, and their friendship continued for years afterward.